Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is SamAlec64, and welcome to the RoboCast. We're not even halfway through this season yet. God damn. I thought, we're getting there, but we're not even halfway through. This is great. I'm loving this. I'm joined alongside, as ever.
And it's 913 the RoboCast Guru.
And Steve the American Killjoy.
We're back as a trio. Anderson, how was Greece?
Hey.
Greece was wonderful, thank you very much.
Did you have a nice anniversary?
I did have a lovely anniversary, yes, thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah, and
It's mad to think that it was a year ago that, we were at your wedding.
I know, it's actually
But not
quite
me,
scary.
because I'm cheap and I don't have money.
We'll get you over here someday, Steve.
We'll get you over to a good country soon, Steve, don't
Aww.
worry.
That was mean.
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
That was mean.
I'm sorry, Stevie, baby, I love you.
I think there's been a lot of reaction to this episode of BattleBots Online, episode 9 of the 2018 season.
A little understand.
Yeah.
A little.
We are going in depth with this one.
I don't really understand all the controversy though. Huge did deserve to win. I don't know why everyone's saying that Chomp didn't deserve it. I just whatever.
We
some people can.
we are gonna discuss it to the best of our abilities. Obviously, I'm looking forward to trying to suss it out a little bit. But overall, I think the episode itself was really solid.
Oh yeah.
I think was it just the one fight that was a bit of a damp squib, and that was Petunia and Captain Shredderator. That was a kind of that was the only one that was really a bit
Yeah, but even then, as a spectacle, I'll get a bit more to that later on. But as a spectacle, I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah, and I bet some of you
we'll get to.
And I bet some of you are probably wondering, where's Misha? You've had Misha every time that Petunia's been on. We decided to give him a break because,
he found out I was going to be on this one with him, and he's like, "Nah, I'm alright."
He's been on every time since, as I mentioned, that Petunia's been on, and obviously, we are aware that he does have his own life too, so we thought we'd give him a week off. So Misha, hopefully, having a week without having to talk to us guys.
Misha, one day I will be on a podcast with you. You are my Dutch hero. Pulverizer for life. Yeah. I said that.
Anyway, should we discuss the episode proper?
Yes.
Sure.
Well, we discussed it briefly, or Anderson mentioned it briefly. Our first fight was Chomp versus Huge. A robot that's a meme for being bad, and a robot that's a meme for being good. For my 2 cents, this was actually quite a fun fight, and obviously there was only one winner. Let's be real here. But I do feel bad for Chomp again. As we mentioned so many times, it's a beautifully engineered machine, and it just got torn to pieces.
Yeah, it was it was just another instance of just showing that Chomp has a lot of flaws, and it's got a lot of power behind that hammer, and
it really does.
When it gets hits in, and that hammer was ripped to shreds, and it was like paper mache in this fight. But it was. There was a lot of good hits. Huge really threw Chomp around the arena with that huge spinny blade. It's becoming quite a formidable foe. I think anybody on that floor or in that pit would not want to go up against Huge at this point. They're riding too much of a high.
Yeah, the thing is, I've seen a lot of people online commenting about how it hasn't come up against a big horizontal spinner. Did anyone I'm guessing those guys didn't see Gabriel take on Carbide.
I'm guessing not.
As much as it's got the holes in it, I think it will take a bit more damage than say Gabriel did. Huge has a potentially more destructive weapon, and I think with that said, it's going to be so much more difficult to fight.
Potentially, it has 100% more destructive weapon than Gabriel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, yeah, definitely.
100%. Anderson, you're gonna say something.
I was just going to say the people who said that probably the same people who still think Razor will still do good in BattleBots to modern day, but whatever.
There's a pinning rule, 10 seconds, it won't win.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Someone on my side. No, I will. I am going to say this though. This battle to me kind of shows that design. I think it just basically proved to me what I've been saying for a while now: is design outshines technology. Because as we know, Chomp is, let's be fair, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of Chomp, and I'll get to the reason why in a minute, but it is a technically gifted machine, but that's why I don't like it. I think it's too technical and not enough.
Yeah,
too technical for its own good, and it's not a good enough design. It's it's top heavy. The hammer's too powerful that it sends it flying over the place. Meanwhile, okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Huge is made of scrap and is low tech and all, because I'm not. It's got to have some serious motors in there to power that weapon, but it's still a very effective design.
And that's been refined because obviously they've got the featherweight version and the beetleweight version. They've got this design sort of like what Craig Danby said a few weeks ago about Jameson Go and Sawblaze. It's got the same design through all the weight categories, and you kind of get used to it.
Yeah, I mean that has worked in the past. I mean, look at the Typhoon series of machines in RoboCast. The middleweight champion, lightweight champion, and heavyweight champion. Yeah. Jeez, Gary, come on, give someone else a shot. But yeah, no. I think that this battle showed that design can be more impressive than technology.
And obviously, it was quite cool to see the hammer just get split in two.
Oh God, yeah.
That was great.
That made me a happy boy as well. That did. I'm not going to lie.
But I did feel
it was
bad.
a really good fight though, and like I said, whilst I'm not a massive Chomp fan, fair play to it. It kept going. It kept going. They didn't give up either. They went full balls to the wall, so fair play to them for that.
Yeah.
You're just becoming one of those robots where if you last 3 minutes with it, you're like, wow, you lasted 3 minutes with Huge? Holy crap.
Yeah. This is the third time now that Chomp's lost, so it's now at 0-3, and and every time it's been the judges that have gone the other way. So for those of you out there that still think the judges are biased towards Chomp, clearly not.
No, what they're doing is it's a conspiracy. You see, they're actually being against it this series to throw heat off themselves.
Don't say that because the tinfoil hats are going to come out.
Yeah,
now,
I was going to take my tinfoil hat off now.
With that said,
you got your flamingo hat on, just quickly.
I don't. Not right now. I don't know. With that said,
just put tinfoil on the...
Go on. Oh, okay. Anyway,
tinfoil.
Yeah. We're good at this. With that said, though, Huge now at 3-0, looking good.
I think we got a top 16 there definitely, and I think
I'd say top 4.
Yeah.
Really?
I'd say it could be in the top 8 easily. Yeah. I'm sorry. Bite Force, Tombstone. Sorry, in order, first to fourth: Tombstone, Bite Force, Bronco, Minotaur for me. But
okay.
Huge. I think Huge is definitely in the top. Could be in the top 8 seeds, definitely.
Yeah. I don't see why not. It's certainly a devastating machine.
Oh, sorry. Were you saying top 4 is in where it's going to place, or top 4 is in where it's going to be seeded? I was saying seeded.
Like top, well, not seeded. Maybe like out like on the bubble for the top 4, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Fair enough. We'll move on to the brilliantly dubbed Battle of the Clones, which it really is. If you look at Warhawk, take away the paint, and Warhawk and Brutus are similar in almost every way, except one small difference, which I didn't even notice, is that Warhawk's 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Brutus used to be? I swear it was.
I think it was.
I'm sure it was last season.
Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. But with that said, Warhawk and Brutus, they are literally the same robot. Like, the identical machines. I'm surprised it actually went the way of Brutus, because I thought initially Warhawk were on top. They had the bigger hit at the start, and obviously Brutus couldn't right themselves. But they still had full control, and Warhawk obviously didn't.
Wasn't Warhawk your prediction to win as well?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I thought Warhawk was going to win this fight initially, but it was unlucky. I think if the drive hadn't gone, I think he probably would have had it. But man, those kinetic energy spinners, they throw out some energy, don't they?
Oh, just a bit. No, it was a really good fight, and like I said, I mean, I agree. I mean, I actually pegged Brutus to win, but when I saw that first hit, I was like, well, I've lost that one. But then obviously I saw Warhawk wasn't working after that properly. I was like, oh, that's a bit unfortunate, really. I would have liked to have seen a good fight between the two of them with neither of them really like breaking down, like KOing each other fine, but one hitting the other and then breaking down itself is a bit of a. It just leaves you feel a bit empty, really, doesn't it?
I will say one thing. I think it's Adam Bursko, the driver of Brutus. It's something along those lines.
I don't know, I'm crap with names.
Well, the driver of Brutus, very clever idea, driving into the wall to right themselves. That was genius, to get back on the right side.
It's like one of those old invertible 4-wheel drive RC cars you could get.
Yeah, exactly. Steve, come on in. Are you still here? Are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I was having a conversation with my mom. I'm actually on my way to school shortly. But
right. Go on.
He's 25 and he still goes to school.
Hey, college never ends, man. It's the worst. That's a story for a separate day. But this fight was, Attack of the Clones. There were a lot of big hits. Let's put it that way. I had a feeling that Warhawk was going to win this, and I'm not exactly unhappy to be wrong. We harped on it in the beginning of the season where it's like, it's boring. It's just a wedge with a disc at the front, and it's effective is the thing. So yeah. Why stray away from something that's really gonna do a lot of damage? It's not gonna be your this will be one of those robots like, that was in BattleBots, because it doesn't have a lot of memorable qualities about it, but it's definitely gonna be a thorn in people's sides possibly towards the end if it can stay reliable. I don't see it stopping against lower tier stuff. I have a feeling once it goes up against something like a Tombstone or a Minotaur, I don't think it'll have a chance, in my opinion. But it definitely showed its muscle here against Warhawk, and I'm kind of sad to see that Warhawk went down in this fight, because it is such a pretty machine, and it really had it seemed to have a much bigger disc. I think it would have had more energy behind it, but I was worried about how open it is on the sides, and possibly Brutus getting in on the sides and getting into those weak points. So I wanted Warhawk to win, but my brain said Brutus for this one. So
Brutus did what it needed to do, really. That's pretty much all there is to it. It just drove in, and as soon as they righted themselves, and obviously, Warhawk couldn't move, then that was it. Job done. Moving on, we have our boy Misha taking on Captain Shredderator, again sporting another different driver. Nick Nave had to go to was it a gaming convention he had to go to?
According to BattleBots.
Which is interesting to know.
Yeah.
But they had another new driver, and I wouldn't say he performed badly. I think at the start, Captain Shredderator was on top. I think it's fair to say that they got a good hit where it spun Petunia around 2 or 3 times. That was great to see. And obviously, eventually, Petunia got a hold on Captain Shredderator and caused a nice lipo fire, which is always good fun. What did you think of this?
Steve, you go first. Or not.
Anderson, go on, take us away.
I'll go first. Right. Basically, I like you said earlier, it was a bit of a meh battle, but like I said, spectacle-wise, seeing the lipo fire, the cloud of smoke, the plume, the American symbol just going up in flames, it kind of soothed me a little bit. I'm joking, American.
Captain America's shield on fire. So as it turns out, things can damage Captain America's shield. It's Petunia.
Yes, but no, Petunia is really proving itself a good spinner killer. That wedge is just the perfect angle, perfect design, perfect shape, perfect material to stop spinners. And add it with 10 tons of squeeze, or grab in this case. It doesn't really crush, does it? But it grabs. I can see Petunia potentially being maybe in the top 16. I don't know. It's 2-1 at the moment, isn't it? So
yeah.
It's
I think you can see it in there.
If you can see it, get it in there. But obviously, there's going to be some numbers at the same when it's up to the producers to decide. But fingers crossed.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, sorry, I had to mute my microphone again. Sorry, I can't look like, hey, I gotta stop talking for a second. Now that I'm out of the house, I don't have to mute it anymore. But Petunia is solid. It's a rock, because those hits that were delivered by Captain Shredderator were not soft hits at all. There was the one hit that made it do like a 720. It was just terrifying. And then, once it got a grip, it was very Razor. Once you got a grip, I'm just gonna take you around to the hazards and around the arena and take you on a tour. Take you on a tour of the battle box.
Absolutely.
And I agree with Anderson. I think it could sneak into the top 16. I don't see why it wouldn't. but it just needs to stop lighting on fire. That would be a plus.
Well, if you think it's so far,
As long as it doesn't do that, we're good.
So far, it's fought 3 spinners. You know, it's
Yeah,
fought
I know.
Rotator, Rotator, Monsoon, and Captain Shredderator. So it's
some would say it was unlucky to lose to Monsoon as well.
It was unlucky to lose Monsoon, but with that said, my thought. Oh, another thing with the lipo fire. Do you think, because obviously, Captain had died by that point, hadn't it? Do you think we would have had the fire if it hadn't have been crushed, or do you reckon that was the reason why we had the fire? I suspect it probably was the reason we had the fire.
I think it was the reason too. I think it's one of those, and I spoke about this on a little group chat we're all in, you and I, Sam.
Yeah.
But it's like one of the. I think it was just a really lucky shot. You know, it was one of those shots where like it was like shoot, what was it? No Apologies and Minion in season 4.0 of BattleBots, where No Apologies just got that axe straight through Minion's top armor and smacked the receiver straight out, and like it was a bullseye shot, and it went right through. So I mean,
shot.
yeah, but I mean, how do you do that? But I feel like it was one of those things where it was just the right place to squash it, and I mean that was it for Shredderator. And that's kind of sad because it's such a pretty version of Shredderator this time, and it's just not living up to not living up to the hype.
Yeah, absolutely.
It definitely is a sexy looking Shredderator.
Yeah, unlucky, but one of those things. It's what happens sometimes, and Petunia taking advantage with the big crusher and doing a good job. So, shall we move on to the first of our contentious fights, shall we?
Sure, I guess.
This is has been a bit of. I think this one's had a bit of backlash. It's not as much as the other one.
Yeah, I expected this one to have more. You know,
Yeah.
it seemed a bit backwards to me.
So, my thoughts on the fight is it's between Bombshell and Yeti, last year's runner-up and semi-finalist. Bombshell, of course, so far 0-2, struggling to get going. As we know, it was a rush build. Mike Jeffries, struggled to get it done in time, but he did get it done in time, and this is what we've got. Yeti, of course, a much more refined machine than last time. I thought Yeti was going to dominate this fight. I really did, and it didn't. Bombshell was the better machine throughout.
Yes.
Until the end, where Bombshell caught fire and died. My thinking was that was mostly the reason why they gave the decision, but I just don't get it. I don't get why they would have if they'd have just said, oh yeah, the reason we gave it retroactively is because Bombshell died. But I've seen worse things given.
I thought we've moved on from the whole it died at the end of the fight, so the other one wins. Like, that's, in my opinion, and I don't know what kind of backlash I can get from this, but it seems like that's a very old-timey Robot Wars rule. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
It doesn't. I mean, the 30-second count rule's been in for years, I would think. I mean, quote me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's, and I talked about this off the cast, where the one reason why the count out rule was put in, I would think, at least for Robot Wars standards, was when Hardvark fought Henry in Series 3, and Hardvark died at the end of the fight, and they gave the win to Henry instead, even though Hardvark dominated the fight. It's really perplexing as to why Yeti won this fight, purely on the fact that Bombshell dominated it completely. And of course I didn't expect that either, Sam. I thought this was going to be not an easy Yeti win, because Bombshell does have a lot of power behind that spinner. We just haven't seen it really do what it was supposed to do.
Yep.
But I don't think it's the right decision, and I know they talked to the judges after the fact.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pick on Naomi Kyle, and I'm not going to speak for her, but I think the reason why any controversy was shown in this decision was the fact that she said that she picked Yeti over Bombshell because Bombshell died at the end. And I guess I'll have to read the BattleBots rules, because I'm sure they have them with them while they're doing. I mean, the thing is, I don't know how much time they have between when the fight ends to when they got to make a decision. I'm sure it has to be a quick.
Exactly. I'm sure it's time. Yeah, I'm sure it's time pressured. Absolutely.
So, yeah, but when she said I picked the robot that was still moving at the end, yes. I mean, I
get it. I get it.
I can see it, but it just doesn't jive with me. Like, I mean, this comes back to, I'm gonna show my my football NFL. You know, like, be consistent with your calls. You know, that's one thing that and like, or hockey too. Like I watch a lot of NHL. So anybody in the States that watches hockey, all we can ask for any hockey match or hockey game is that
the ref's consistent.
Exactly. It's so annoying when you'll get a hooking call and then you won't get one later in a game when it actually matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or interference or stuff like that. Like that stuff really bothers me. You know. But I mean, I understand how they're under time. I didn't mean to go on so long. I didn't mean to rant. This is the fight. But you understand what I mean. I'll cut myself off there before I go too far.
It's an interesting debate because obviously, as we said, Bombshell did control the fight. You know, it split the forks of Yeti apart, but Yeti did cause damage. Yeah, it did cause damage, and obviously it did because it caught fire. It was a tough one. Like I can see why the judges gave it. At the same time, I don't entirely agree with it. I feel like Bombshell should have got the W, but poor Mike Jeffries is at 0-3 now for the last year runner-up. I mean, Anderson, your thoughts? It was a great fight either way.
Oh, yeah, this fight was fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. But, I mean, and yes, Yeti did damage Bombshell, but Bombshell damaged Yeti. It twisted its chassis to the point where all four of its wheels could no longer be on the floor at the same time. It destroyed both of its weapons. You know, you got to draw a line there with which one's done more damage. And the way I look at it is, there's a count out there for a reason. If the referee had counted Bombshell out, then I can understand them turning around and saying the winner is Bombshell. And don't get me wrong, the winner is Yeti. And don't get me wrong, I understand that a robot dying at the end of a battle, yes, fine. That does count against it. The longer it's dead before the buzzer goes off, the more points get deducted. I understand that, but for 4 seconds, I don't see how that many points were deducted from the amount Bombshell done. And remember, I love Yeti, and I'm not a massive Bombshell fan. And I'm defending Bombshell here. That just shows you how much I disagree with it. Because whilst I'm not a massive fan of Bombshell, the thing I hate even more, or dislike even more than that, is a lack of fairness.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, especially considering this was a unanimous decision, I don't know how
I was gonna say, like, if it was split, I could understand. If it was a split decision, I could understand. But it was tough. Like, I do sympathise with the judges. The fact that, you know, they've got to make a decision, but it was a tough.
Like, the whole rest of the match didn't matter, and just those 4 seconds at the end, that was what gave Yeti the win.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the way we see it. I'm sure things look different live, but I
want to see what the comments think, because I'm fascinated. There's obviously a lot of varying opinions. I do get both sides. I absolutely get both sides. You know, the fact that Bombshell died is a huge factor. But should it count against it that much? I want to hear what you guys think out there. So please leave many, many comments below and tell us what you think. And I want to hear more comments for our last fight, which is our main event between Icewave and Scorpios. Now, before we got onto this, I was very surprised to see Scorpios in the main event.
Same here.
I would have thought of all the fights in this card.
Make me 3. Yeah.
Of all the fights in this card, you know, Bombshell versus Yeti, I'd be like, yeah, that's a main event. Last year's runner-up versus last year's, you know, losing semi-finalist.
Chomp versus Huge, a big, huge fan favourite, no pun intended, and a robot that's got a huge technical advancement and did very well last series.
Yeah, but Scorpios, a robot which we've only seen in one fight so far, and an online rumble, and Icewave.
Sawblaze.
Yeah,
I understand Sawblaze being in there, you know, because that's been in what, 3 fights now, and one KO all 3 of them.
Yep, exactly. But I mean,
I'm not taking anything away.
No, absolutely not. We'll get onto its performance in a second. But it just kind of surprised me that they were like, "Oh, Scorpios main event." I was like, "Okay, cool, Scorpios it is." With that said, let's get on to this fight. And again, much of what you said earlier, Steve, about consistency. This one is one that irks me a lot. We're going to flash back to that fight from last season. You know which one I'm on about. It's Sawblaze and Razorback.
Sawblaze versus Razorbacky.
Yes, indeed. Now, obviously, last season, Razorback won the fight because the primary weapon wasn't in use for Sawblaze, even though Sawblaze dominated the fight. As I'm sure it's been commented to hell. We know, okay? We've seen it before, okay? This fight was very similar. If anything, Icewave did more damage than Razorback ever could.
Way more damage.
And Scorpios, fair play to, again, controlled the fight. They got underneath Icewave, they bullied it around the battle box. They were fantastic. It has to be said. Orion Beach, a big hand to you, sir. You dominated the fight and you controlled Icewave throughout.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, well, as much as if it was a Robot Wars fight, I'd give it to Scorpios because they controlled the fight and they had the more aggression. With that said, damage carries more weight in BattleBots, so Icewave should...
it doesn't.
No, it does. It's still 2 points.
But the rules have changed more than... I mean, there's no longer that stupid primary weapon crap.
No, it's active weapon.
Yes.
They've definitely pulled up on that, and also control does carry a lot more now than it did back in the day as well.
Yeah, it does. But like, it's still a powered weapon, which they didn't really use, did they? Scorpios, they just used the scoop.
Yeah, well, the chain died.
Yeah.
It's not too dissimilar from when Sawblaze lost their weapon against Razorback.
Yeah, it's literally the same fight, except Icewave did more damage.
This fight is a foil, basically, of exactly. Well, maybe maybe not a foil. Like it's almost like looking through a mirror.
Yeah.
It's very, very eerie.
Yeah, it was so strange, and it was again a cracking fight. Both sides.
Oh, fantastic.
Back and forth all the way.
Best main event. Best main event of the season.
Absolutely. Huge credit to Mark DeWitz and Orion Beach to put on a great show. I was just very surprised by the decision. I thought Scorpios was the better machine throughout, but obviously it took a lot of damage. It took a hell of a lot of damage from Icewave. But
yeah.
Do you know what? I mean, I'm not going to complain. I thought Scorpios deserved the. I think it deserved the win, but I've seen them. As we said, consistency would have been really. I'm surprised they didn't give it to Icewave in the end.
Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna go off, but I'm gonna try to talk about this as cleanly as possible. Let's say what was it? 2016. You have Sawblaze and you have Razorback.
Mm-hmm.
They fight. Sawblaze takes damage, controls the fight. Razorback wins, and then everybody's upset.
Mm-hmm.
So this
I know what's coming.
This time around, you have a dustpan in Scorpios against a much more destructive robot in Icewave, probably one of the most destructive to come back on the scene. They fight. Scorpios dominates the match, in my opinion. Takes a lot of damage. Scorpios wins. Everybody's upset. So it's one of those things where I think it's kind of BattleBots' own fault, and I know they're really doing a good job to try to really work the rules, because a lot's changed since it's gone off the TV. It's hard to kind of mold a fair rule set for everybody. You know what I mean? And a fair way to call each fight.
Mm-hmm.
And to classify what's aggression, what's control. I mean, we know what damage is, what's strategy. It's a tough ask for the judges in a short amount of time. We understand, and I've read a whole bunch about it. Here's what I want to know, because it's damage is 2, and aggression, control, and strategy are 1 each.
Yep.
Which gives a robot like Scorpios, who doesn't have the damaging capability of Icewave, a chance to win a fight.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do when you're fighting something that's constantly running away? And what flashes in my mind is Typhoon 2 and Storm 2 Series 7 Final Robot Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Typhoon running away, spinning their weapon up, doing damage to Storm 2. Storm 2 constantly pushing it around the arena and dominating the round, but losing to Typhoon in the end. Spoilers if you have... Okay, at this point, if you haven't seen Series 7 of Robot Wars, you're missing something, and I'm sorry.
You shouldn't be watching this podcast.
pretty much.
Watch it now. There was actually a lot of good fights in Series 7. I think it gets a lot of flack.
It does.
But anyway, the thing is, people think about the final. Yeah. And going back to that, Icewave runs away a lot during this fight to try to spin its weapon up, and Scorpios is right on top of it, making sure that weapon does not spin up. However, times when it does spin up, it rips pieces off of Scorpios at some points. And yes, that's more damage than what Razorback did in its fight against Sawblaze. And I don't know how much damage Sawblaze took in that fight, but it was way less, and we know that.
There wasn't paddles flying off, was there?
Scorpios' defense, what do you do against something that is constantly damaging? I mean, what do you expect? You can't stand back. you have to be aggressive, and by being aggressive, you're getting damaged. So it's like, how do you fight something like that if you know, like let's put it this way: what if it went Ice Wave's way? We would be having a completely separate conversation.
Well,
how are you supposed to fight something that doesn't that like, I mean, its defense is always on, you know, like, and in fact it always does damage. Like, I don't know how to.
You actually make a fantastic point there. You actually make a fantastic point there. Like, if Ice Wave had have won, let's say, you know, we'd have said, but Scorpios dominated the fight. How on earth did Ice Wave win? You know,
exactly.
we'd have said exactly the opposite. You know, I think the only thing that like bothers me about this is like obviously the consistency. I agree with the decision. I think Scorpios deserve the win. But
yes,
BattleBots' consistency in the past is what's kind of making me like, well, how on earth did Ice Wave lose that?
Because they fed everybody this primary weapon rule bullshit.
Yeah. And obviously now it's I know it's now powered weapon. I know it's a little bit different, but it's essentially the same idea.
Right.
They still keep mentioning primary weapon every 5 minutes as well. Let's be fair now.
Yeah.
They do.
It's been a couple years for Chris and Kenny. I know the thing is they were fed that idea too. It's not their fault. I mean.
Obviously I know it's not their fault.
But
no.
You know, it's one of those things. I don't know. Anderson, help me.
Right. I've got a few things to say about this battle. One, I think it was amazing. I think we can all agree with that. Mm-hmm. Fantastic battle. Had on the edge of the seat the whole time.
Absolutely.
Second of all, fair play to Scorpio. I can't remember the name of the driver. I'm sorry.
It's Ryan Beach.
Yeah, Ryan Beach. Amazing driving. And fair play to Ice Race driver. Forgot the name. Managing to get out of... That's the one. Managing to get out of the way and get the weapon up to a speed where it could cause damage. I mean, at the end of the day, both of them deserve huge applause for putting on a great show. Best main event of the season, in my opinion. Only took 9 episodes to get a good main event, but whatever.
The first one was good too.
Yeah. A couple of things to say. Yeah, okay. It wasn't as good as everyone said it was, but it wasn't great. But whatever. Yeah, it was still good. Anyway, got off topic. I agree with the decision. I could understand why it was a split decision. Now understanding because obviously I thought that they'd changed the rules to more Robot War style, but obviously no, I'm wrong. It's 2 for damage, and then you said 1 for everything else. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Having heard that, I could definitely see why it was a split decision. I do agree that Scorpios deserved the win. I do feel a little smug because this is to all those people who told me I was crazy when I said that control bots are needed in robot combat, and control bots are a driving skill is actually an important part.
Control bots.
Not just that, but I mean, I don't know. I love a big ass spinner, you know, as much as the next bloke. I love spectacle, I love damage, I love destruction, but also a massive part of robot combat is driving. Mm-hmm. If you've got a big weapon but your opponent's got a better driver, you're fucked. I'm sorry, it's the rules of robot combat.
Let's put it like this: if it's not the size of your weapon, it's how you use it.
Oh yes.
Yeah. I had to go there, ladies and gentlemen. You can all unsubscribe now.
And I do believe that, you know, with this decision, hopefully people will be starting to think, okay, maybe I need more than just a big heavy spinner. Because I like the one thing I really love about robot combat is variety. If you see the same thing over and over and over again, you're gonna get sick of it.
Yeah,
there's a reason why sportsman class exists, because wedges are banned. You know, like people want to see other things.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not for banning wedges, but I'm for limiting them, definitely. Yeah, but anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. So yeah, all in all, and just because obviously it's an American show, I kind of have to do this. Here's to robots like Sorbets and Scorpios making BattleBots great again. Oh.
So,
sorry.
Back to what Jameson said. I think was it last week when Jameson, or the week before, whenever he was on, you know, whenever he was on last. You know, he said that the meta currently is obviously armoring up the sides because of the big spinners, and then a little bit thinner on top. And
yes.
Robots like Scorpios and robots like Sawblades are showing actually you can beat a big spinner with a heavy duty wedge, and then something come down over the top like a powerful saw.
Yes.
And it's nice to see that, you know, people are working around the current meta to find, you know, a new style of beating them. It might not be everyone, but it's amazing, you know. And again, fair play to Scorpios for getting a good win. As we mentioned already, I think all three of us kind of agree with the decision. We're just kind of like, we're surprised that it came that way from BattleBots, considering what's gone before.
Yeah,
definitely. It's nice to see that we've kind of. I'm gonna tack on to what you just said, where it's like it's nice to see the sport evolving, because when it went off the air originally, it was very rock paper scissors. You know?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, I mean, it's definitely become. It's getting better because I mean, people have. I mean, you watch enough fights, you participate in enough fights, you're going to start to kind of notice things you could improve or things that weaknesses maybe you never saw before and stuff like that. And it's sometimes you got to wait for things to kind of go one way for a long time, where the whole armoring up on the sides thing is happening, and then you come in here with a big axe like Beta and make it all the way to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was once a time when the most feared weapon was a flipper.
In the UK.
In the UK anyway, yeah, before and now of course over here we've got some big ass spinners and that are doing really well, and obviously with robots evolving, obviously it then becomes okay, what's the next big weapon? What's the next thing? But it's definitely nice to see that it is evolving, and I hope that this season of BattleBots will show people that and inspire people to build original concepts, like two-headed Death Flamingo, for example.
Oh.
Little plug there.
Follow Flamingo Robots on Twitter. No, okay.
Make a new Firestorm, damn it!
Anyway, with that said, I think we all agree this was a really fun episode. It was, it was great, and I genuinely do want to hear what everyone has to say about those last two fights in particular. I'm very curious to see where everyone's falling on the sort of which way the judges' decision should have gone.
Absolutely.
I'm fascinated.
Have these conversations because then it improves the sport, because we're talking about these things and maybe
not
things
not
down
arguing about it.
Yeah, just discussion. And those. I do want to address one thing. That those on Twitter who are slamming BattleBots for saying, "How dare you give the win to Scorpios? It should have gone to Ice Wave." Get real, kids. Come on. Yeah. You can do better than that. Anyway, with that said, I've been Samuel64.
I've been Answer9132, the Robot Wars Guru.
And I've been Steve, the American Killjoy.
And we will see you next week for episode 10. Is it next week? It is next week, yes. It is next week.
It
is next week.
And then I think we have a week.
Yeah, it's next week. We've got a week break and then something else happens. But we've also got an extra fight next week, which is obviously the Double Jeopardy and Mecha Rampage fight. So we'll see you for next week for those. And until then, sayonara.